I want to move on to some other issues because there is other big stuff to talk about here. And I want to talk about the recent revelations from Ron Klain, the former Biden chief of staff, who, oh, guess what? In a new book called Uncharted, How Trump Beat Biden, Harris, and the Odds in the Widest Campaign in History by Chris Whipple, well, apparently Klain actually viewed Biden as out of it and even half seriously worried that Biden thought he was president of NATO. This is, quite a shocker because look at this exchange from the White House with Klain telling the press to leave a room back in 2021.
Now we're going to get down to business here, and Ron, who am I turning this over to?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. I think it's time for the press, our friends in the press to leave, though. Thank you.
So Klain had in August, as recently as August, said that, Biden had been absolutely up to the job. We saw from that clip he obviously wasn't. Why are so many former Biden aides now coming out to cover themselves on this whole question of Biden's compos mentis status?
Yeah, well, I think the short answer is to cover their own rear ends as the Democrats continue to try and cast blame as to who's responsible, essentially for Donald Trump winning. If they don't believe Donald Trump won, they believe that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden lost. But as a former chief of staff, this one stuck with me because look, the guy who wrote that book is very credible. The guy that wrote that book, Chris Whipple, is the foremost sort of author when it comes to the office of the chief of staff. He wrote the definitive book on the office of the chief of staff. So I know he's got a very close relationship with Klain, or I expect that he does. And for Klain to come out and say that is befuddling to me as a former chief of staff. Essentially what he says is, I'm admitting that I lied to you. I lied to everybody. I knew that he was out of it, and I lied to everybody. And that is a real problem when it comes to faith in government, faith in the institution and so forth, the credibility of that chief of staff's office. So, yeah, look, I know Ron a little bit. It's a very small group of people who've been chief of staff to a president. But for a chief of staff to come out and say the president wasn't there and I didn't do anything about it, in fact, I lied about it to the other extreme, is troubling.
Well, it is troubling because it makes it feel like this is really, I've been called a conspiracy theorist. I was called a conspiracy theorist for so long, saying, oh, Joe Biden is just fine. You're just making up stuff. And now everybody has said, you were right. I mean, now it seems like when you start to do this, people will believe the most seemingly unlikely things, that aren't true, not just things that are true, like, Joe Biden was losing it.
And look what the credibility of the media is. One thing I love about this show is you guys shoot it straight, and I've always appreciated that. But the credibility of the media here has gone down so dramatically because of the Biden competency and capabilities issue. Imagine 3 presidents from now, right now, if you had a truly disabled president and the left-wing media went on and said, we think this person is incapacitated, who would believe them? I mean, they were asleep at the wheel for several years. Going back, keep in mind, you and I first talked about this in October of 2022 when Joe Biden started asking for dead people at press conferences. Everybody knew about this, and there was a huge cover-up. And to have the chief of staff of the president come out and essentially say, yeah, we covered it up, and I lied to you about it, that's troubling.